Gone crazy in Alabama, Taranada. A full day hadn't passed by, but Vonetta's absence lingered in every corner of the house. Everywhere I turned was a space Vonetta had been in that what was now left empty. I was glad Mr. Lucas had given me something to do, although it didn't take long to gather the planks of broken wood from the hen house and the baby dresser drawers that were once the hens' nesting boxes. They made a small, splintery pile of wood that couldn't be used for anything else. It was in raking the yard, searching for nails and glass pieces blown over from Mr. Lucas's house, that gave my eyes a downward place to look. For that, I was glad. I searched and searched for broken bits while I missed Vonetta and missed Fern and hated my mother and thought of what Fern had yelled at me and dreaded seeing my father's face, but wanted him here with me at the same time. Uncle Darnell would soon go over the creek, too, to see about the trotters. When I asked to go with him, he said, "We'll see," which I hoped was a strong maybe. I wanted to see how Jimmy Trotter and Miss Trotter were, but at the same time, I was afraid of what I might see. Mr. Lucas's house was sturdy, and Miss Trotter's house was old. Its floorboards spoke with every step we took whenever we were inside the house. She kept everything at it was when she kept everything as if it was when her father had lived with her and Ella Pearl. According to my cousin, Mr. Lucas had made offers to gird up the house's foundation over the years, but Miss Trotter had always told Jimmy Trotter the house was fine as it was. She didn't want anyone to touch what her father had made. I decided I'd rather be anywhere but here, even if I had to see what I didn't want to see. I scratched and clawed at the ground, waiting for Uncle Darnell to take me with him. On television, they never say the person's name when there is a missing person and that person is found. Instead, they say, "The body has been found," because the body is all that is left. But if she was found, still inside her body, still alive, they'd say, "We found a little girl. We found Vonetta Gaither." I didn't want to believe it, any of it. Not that it was my fault. Like Fern said, not that my sister was gone, not that Vonetta was gone for good. I didn't want anyone to say we found the body. I kept my head down. I raked and clawed. Caleb started up his nose louder than his usual dog song. I stopped tearing up the ground with the rake and instead combed it softly, waiting for our visitor to come into view. Caleb could cry and carry on long before a stranger or a hungry fox could be seen. My heart quickened, wanting to hope. He didn't only sing out for strangers. He sang when the visitors was someone he knew, like Vonetta. I kept the rake going, but I stopped breathing. Finally, the moving car showed itself, the sheriff's black and white car. It turned off the tree-blocked road and jostled through the fields of dandelions and wildflowers. I searched the car, hoping to see my sister. I saw something besides the sheriff, but it wasn't my sister. The car was now up on the grass, but it didn't come any closer. The sheriff got out, then opened the passenger door, and a bloodhound jumped out. Caleb pulled at his chain and pitched a fuss. So I let him off of his chain, and he was on Sheriff Charles in no time, jumping, licking, and baying like a pup. The two dogs scampered about excitedly, glad to see each other. Still excited, Caleb nipped at the sheriff's pant legs, but the sheriff didn't look down at Caleb or pet him. He just flung Caleb off of him, kicking out his leg once, and the two dogs went back to playing with each other while the sheriff trudged up to the house. As he approached, I realized that he was more Big Ma and Mr. Lucas's age, maybe a little younger. He was broad from shoulder to belly, and then narrow from the hip, where his holster sat, down to his boots. I felt no need to give the greeting Big Ma had taught my sisters and me to give to all grown-up folk, especially to white folk. I knew who he was. I knew he wore a white sheet when he wasn't wearing his badge. It made him no different whether I spoke to him or not. He tapped on the screen door with the back of his hand and called out, "Philia, you here? Mama? It's Davy Lee." Uncle Darnell met him at the door and opened it wide. I thought he did that to be the man of the house and stand up to the clan, but my uncle opened the door wide, shook his hand, and brought him inside to my great-grandma's house. I got up to the porch to see and hear through the screen door. Why was he here if he didn't have my sister? And who did he think he was, calling Ma Charles Mama? I was mad enough to scream just when I thought I'd been wrung out numb. The clan was in my great-grandmother's house. My uncle shook his hand. Unreal, crazy unreal. Yet I couldn't take myself away. Fern was glued to Ma Charles the way she should have been glued to me. The sheriff looked down at Fern and then said to Ma Charles, "Should have figured those were yours." Ma Charles nodded. "They're mine, all three." "When was the last time you seen her?" he asked. Big Ma said, "Supper, last night, just before the thundering and lightning started. The kids went to their beds early, stayed in their rooms." "No chance she went out in the electrical storm last night?" "No," Fern said, and everyone turned to her in a kind of shock, because Fern said very little. She stayed on her side of the room, and me and Delphine stayed on our side. But we all went to bed. Then she added, "Bonetta snores loud. She kept me awake with her snoring. I thought she was snoring loud to get back at Delphine and me, because we didn't let her play old maid with us." He nodded to that and asked Big Ma for a recent photo, and she told Fern to go in her room and get her church purse. Fern hurried off and returned with the black bag. Big Ma took out her wallet, and from there she carefully pulled out a small picture, a school picture. The sheriff looked at the picture once, shook his head, probably at Bonetta's proud of herself grin. He probably thought no black girl had the right to be that proud, but there she was, being Bonetta in a photo. "You know not to hope, Philia," the sheriff said. Taranada, that was exactly how he said it. With 4 syllables, all A. Wasn't the worst. But I tell you one thing. It was bad enough to toss the Negro rag doll clear across the country out of this lifetime. Mr. Lucas had to catch Big Ma, and Uncle Darnell said, "Hey, man, you didn't have to say that." The sheriff said, "Better the truth than a fairy tale." "We're not asking you for no fairy tale," Ma Charles said. "We're asking you to do what the sheriff's supposed to do. We're asking you to find our lost child." "Yes, Mama," the sheriff said. I hated that he called her that, but she said, "Just go find her, son. Go find her." Son? My great-grandmother called the clan son. "All right then, Mama," he said. He turned to Uncle Darnell and said, "I need a piece of her clothing, something she wore yesterday, pajamas maybe." Fern then ran off again and returned to Vonetta's nightie, but she didn't hand it over to the sheriff. She gave it to Ma Charles, and Ma Charles lifted her hand for the sheriff to lean over and take it. I got away from the door. He called his dog, and the dog trotted up to his boots. Caleb followed. He knelt and gave the nighties to his dog to sniff. "Scent, boy, scent!" Both dogs went at it. Caleb sniffing the baying loud and crazy. Where Where's she, boy? Where that little Negro child? Something about the way he said it, Negro. Like he was used to saying the other word, the bad word. Darnell, he shouted, sounding more like an army sergeant giving orders than a sheriff. When Uncle Darnell came out, the sheriff said, "We got a scent." "I'm coming," my uncle told the sheriff. "Well, come on then." "Can I go?" I asked. I don't know what made me ask. I didn't want to be near that Ku Klux Klansman. I was asking my uncle, but the sheriff said, "Nah, this is a manhunt, sheriff's business." Then Uncle Darnell said, "Stay here." They leashed up both dogs and sat down the road and into the pines, the dogs baying and pulling. I put the rake down and sat on the porch. I looked to the pines, hoping. I heard both dogs before I saw them. "They're coming," I yelled to Big Ma, Ma Charles, and Fern. "They're coming." I wanted to see Uncle Darnell carrying Vanetta, but when we finally saw them, it was Uncle D, the sheriff, and the two bloodhounds. "They found the bicycle," the sheriff said, "up a tree in 10 pieces. A mercy, Lord, a mercy, mercy. But we didn't find the body." "She's not the body," I screamed at him. "She's Vanetta." Big Ma grabbed me by the arm. "Girl, you shut your mouth. You hear me? You just shut your mouth." Uncle D pulled me into him. The sheriff went on. "Scent got cold. Taranada might have blown her away. The body could be up in one of them trees." I was glad when Sheriff Charles had finally left. I hoped he would find Vanetta, and I hoped he wouldn't. Caleb could not be calmed. Once he sniffed that old sheriff and his brother and Vanetta's scent from the nightie, there was no quieting him down. I put his chain back on him and tied him up good. But Caleb kept sniffing and pulling after the sheriff's car. I knew they used dogs, the sheriffs down here. I knew this from our summer at the People's Center. I had seen old photographs of cops sicking dogs on people, black people, and college people. Now the sheriff would use the dog to find where the tornado had blown Vanetta. Caleb couldn't stop singing his dog song, missing his hound dog brother and maybe even the sheriff. "Hush, Caleb," I said. "Hush that noise." But he wouldn't hear me. He bayed louder and louder, and then kept it to a loud one-note song. When I looked up, I saw what he was barking at. I saw it, but I could barely believe it. I didn't know who to call first, so I yelled, "Everyone come see."